Former Browns star Baker Mayfield makes feelings clear on Shedeur Sanders' game and hype. The spotlight can be both a blessing and a curse in professional football. For Shedeur Sanders, navigating his rookie season means dealing with expectations, criticism, and constant scrutiny that few quarterbacks face from day one. However, one veteran quarterback understands exactly what Sanders is going through. How does Baker Mayfield's journey compare to Shedeur Sanders' early struggles? If anyone can relate to what Shedeur Sanders is experiencing, it's Baker Mayfield. He entered the league surrounded by massive hype and was touted as the Cleveland Browns franchise savior. His stature when he entered the league differed significantly since he was a Heisman Trophy winner and first overall pick. Yet, he dealt with his fair share of relentless criticism. Even though he led the Browns to their first playoff berth in 18 years in 2020, Mayfield then experienced a significant drop-off and played through injuries that seemed to derail his promising career. Despite toughing it out on the field, he was pilloried in the press and faced constant questions about his ability. He eventually bounced from Cleveland to the Carolina Panthers to the Los Angeles Rams before ultimately finding his groove and success with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2024. What does Baker Mayfield have to say about Shedeur Sanders' current situation? Mayfield appeared on Jackie Truth to discuss the intense pressure Shedeur Sanders has been experiencing during his first year in Cleveland. "I mean, it's tough," Mayfield said. "Since he was young, he had the spotlight on him. So people are going to be overcritical of every little thing. He has all the pieces he needs to have success. It's about the time and place." Like Mayfield before him, Sanders has been a lightning rod for attention for years. Being the son of a Hall of Famer and being coached by his dad throughout college created the widespread perception that Sanders was coddled and allowed to get away with things other players wouldn't. Sanders' attitude and commitment also have been constantly questioned by analysts and fans alike. While Mayfield has a more fiery demeanor and confrontational style of play, Sanders was similarly criticized in the lead-up to the 2025 NFL Draft for being cocky in meetings with draft evaluators and coaches. What are Sanders' chances of breaking through this season? He started the preseason strong, showing flashes of the talent that made him a coveted prospect. But no matter what he does on the field, Sanders will likely remain under the media microscope for however long his career lasts. There's speculation that the Browns will keep as many as 4 quarterbacks on their roster this season. Starter Joe Flacco is 40 years old and has a bruise that won't go away from being sidelined, which means that Sanders has a better-than-average chance of starting games this season. For his part, Mayfield is another undersized quarterback who doesn't possess a big arm. He's accurate, gutsy, and willing to take calculated risks when the situation demands it. Sanders isn't as fiery as Mayfield, but by all accounts, he commands attention in the huddle and has been respected wherever he's played. His journey is just beginning, but it's undeniably gotten off to a rockier start than Mayfield's did in Cleveland. Whatever happens moving forward, Sanders seems to handle the pressure with a sense of humor and maturity. One just has to wonder if he ever has a private moment where he wants to call his critics nasty names. Baker Mayfield never speaks in whispers. Even when the microphones are off, his voice seems to carry a headline, part charm, part lightning. So when he steps into a studio or onto a podcast and starts talking about Shedeur Sanders, people listen the way they listen for weather alerts, because storms and sunshine both matter. Baker's words aren't always gentle, but they're rarely mean. He's someone who remembers the weight of a city's expectations and the taste of both vindication and second-guessing. When he talks about Shedeur, his tone is somewhere between Coach Y candor and older brother appraisal. He praises the kid's arm, the timing, the pocket presence, the things scouts scribble in their notes and fans shout about in bars. But he also pokes the balloon of hype, letting a little air out with a grin and the sort of phrase that becomes a Twitter clip. Talent's easy. The job's hard. In Baker's telling, Shedeur is the kind of player who walked into the league wearing confidence like a tailored coat. He throws with the kind of fluency that makes linebackers look like background actors in someone else's movie. Baker likes the mechanics, the footwork, the eyes, the way Shedeur uses subtle shifts to manipulate an entire coverage. He's not just showing off, Baker says. He's building work. But Baker also insists that building work isn't the same as winning the contractor's badge. He points to the invisible curriculum of the NFL. How to handle blitzes not just physically but emotionally. How to chew up a 2-score lead without chewing a timeout. How to make teammates believe you when the scoreboard screams doubt. You can throw darts and paint a masterpiece at the same time, Baker will say. But can you do it on the road with a 12-point deficit and a crowd trying to erase you? That's the test. He's not trying to dunk on Shedeur, far from it. When Baker remembers his own rookie days, the misfires and the moments he wanted to curl up and watch film until dawn, his voice softens. He offers advice draped in anecdotes. The time he learned to smile after a sack because the offense needed the mood more than the stat sheet needed therapy. The half practice where a veteran told him to stop trying to be a savior and start trying to be a norm. Those stories aren't lectures, they're survival manuals. Baker's point is blunt and oddly tender. Hype gives you a runway, but humility keeps you airborne. The conversation often turns to the cultural layer that blankets Shedeur: legacy. Being the son of a football icon brings its own gravity. Baker, who has navigated fame's quirks and the Cleveland spotlight, treats the subject with wry empathy. He's got a name that comes with expectations, Baker says. But you can't play a name. You play a guy in front of you. Let the name be a story people read later. There's a practical piece in that advice, the singular focus on the assignment, and a humane piece. The reminder that players are people who inherit histories they didn't write. Where Baker's commentary cuts sharpest is on the ecosystem that amplifies hype: analysts, social feeds, and the contract calculus. He talks about the seductive lullaby of narratives, how quickly a highlight turns into a headline, and how headlines become the scaffolding of pressure. If you feed it, it grows, he says. If you starve it, it shrinks. The subtext is clear: protect the player. Let him grow without the neon buzz of expectation vibrating in his skull. But Baker also spotlights the opportunity in that noise. He knows the value of a show-stopping moment. He knows how a single fourth-quarter drive can flip skepticism into legend. Use it, he advises. Turn the noise into fuel. Make people forget what they thought they knew. There's defiance in that line, the kind that once carried Baker himself through come-from-behind wins and into the hearts of a city that lives for redemption arcs. Metrics.